My buddy Josh and I decided that whenever a David Lynch movie comes to the big screen, we're going to be there. We've seen Inland Empire, Wild at Heart, Lost Highway, the documentary Lynch Oz, and then most recently the 40th anniversary of David Lynch's Dune. Now, there's two reasons why you want to go to a David Lynch movie in the theater, and the first reason is his use of sound. He uses sound to create a very surreal, dreamlike mood, but it also becomes like a character in the story itself. The second reason is David Lynch movies demand and deserve your full attention. And being in a theater allows you to focus on that because he's one of the only filmmakers out there that actually challenges you as a viewer, so when you leave, you come up with your own interpretation of what the film's about. David Lynch will never ever tell you what his films are about.
Electricity arcing, the light bulbs crackling on, and you have a recurrent motif of like 2 points and something arcing between them. And it seems to me that this somehow relates to what you think about the synaptic arcs in our brain. When you talk about TM, when you talk about making connections, it seems to me that that's what that recurrent visual motif is about. And I know you hate saying what things mean in your films, but am I right in thinking that that's at least in the right area? Wow, go ahead.
So coming into Dune, it was never like the top of my favorites of the David Lynch catalog. I saw it once as a child and didn't really care for it, and then I started kind of gaining a little appreciation. But seeing it in the theater changed everything. It is a massive film, especially for a film that was made in 1984. The visual effects may seem a little outdated from times, but man, it's still big, and the sound is still huge, and the hallmarks of David Lynch are in that film. Now, David Lynch has since kind of disowned Dune. He never got final edit, and it's really kind of broken his heart. So he doesn't talk much about it.
I loved the cast and crew, and I loved Mexico City. I was down there for a year and a half. Dune took 3 years to make, start to finish. But it was a nightmare. And it was a nightmare. I didn't have final cut on that film. So I didn't have final cut on The Elephant Man either, but Mel, in effect, gave it to me. And so that's the big lesson. Don't make a film if it can't be the film you want to make. It's a joke, and a sick joke, and it'll kill you.
Which is kind of sad because I'd like to learn a little bit more of the process of how he made Dune. And it's actually kind of fun now watching this version compared to Denis Villeneuve's version and seeing how the actors match up, because in David Lynch's Dune, you have Kyle MacLachlan, you have Patrick Stewart, Virginia Madsen, Sting. It's just an all-star cast from the 80s. And then if you compare them with the characters of today, it's a whole different feel. But if you haven't seen David Lynch's Dune, and you've only seen part one of Denis Villeneuve's Dune, then you might want to wait and hold off on the David Lynch until you see part two, because David Lynch had to cram the book into one film, whereas Denis was able to break it up into 2 parts. Now, when you go back to see it, and if you do go see the David Lynch version or you have some type of opinion, I'd love for you to share that with me, and I'd love to share any thoughts that you might have about David Lynch films in general. But there's one thing that you should always attempt to do, and I've learned this over the last couple of years with my buddy Josh, is that whenever you see a David Lynch movie in a movie theater, go see it.